Everyone agreed on one thing about Mikiru. She had never waited for anything in her life. Not for food, not for clothes, not for approval. Waiting was for people who lacked options. From the day she was born, her world moved ahead of her, clearing paths before her feet touched the ground. She grew up in a quiet estate where gates opened with sensors and silence followed money like a shadow. The kind of place where neighbors waved politely but kept their distance, because everyone knew who lived behind that compound. Her father, Mr. Okeke, was a man of influence. Not loud, not flashy, but powerful in the way people lowered their voices around him. In church, he sat in front. In meetings, people listened. His wife, Mrs. Okeke, carried herself gently with the calm confidence of a woman who believed peace could fix anything if you applied enough patience. And then there was Nikru. Beautiful, sharp-tongued, unbothered. She grew up surrounded by hands that did things for her. If her shoelace loosened, someone bent down. If her water wasn't cold enough, it was replaced. If her food arrived late, the kitchen trembled. She never learned how to ask. She only learned how to demand. By secondary school, her name already carried a reputation in the house. Staff warned each other before approaching her room. A knock on her door came with fear. A mistake near her triggered insults that cut deep and stayed long after. "Are you blind?" she once snapped at a maid who placed the wrong bag beside her bed. The woman apologized repeatedly, hands shaking. Mikiru didn't hear the apology. She heard power. At school, her attitude followed her like perfume. She arrived late without explanation. When teachers questioned her, she smiled as if rules were optional suggestions. Punishments vanished after phone calls home. Detention became a joke. Warnings became background noise. She learned a dangerous lesson early. Consequences were for other people. Her classmates whispered. Some admired her confidence. Others avoided her completely. A few hated her silently, but Mikiru didn't notice. She walked through corridors with her head high, phone in hand, earphones plugged in, detached from everything that didn't serve her comfort. At home, her parents watched the transformation with growing fear. Mrs. Okeke noticed first. It was the way greetings disappeared, the way respect became sarcasm, the way her daughter's laughter sounded empty. Sometimes, late at night, she would sit on the edge of her bed and wonder how a child raised with so much love could grow so distant. She tried conversations, soft ones, hard ones, prayer-filled ones. "Mikiru, the way you speak to people," she once began gently. Her daughter barely looked up. "Mommy, please, you're overthinking." Those words hurt more than shouting. Mr. Okeke noticed later, but when he did, it shook him deeply. Visitors looked uncomfortable, staff resigned frequently, and whispers began following the family even into church. One Sunday, a woman leaned close to Mrs. Okeke and said quietly, "Madam, children don't embarrass parents in one day, it builds." That night, she cried quietly into her pillow. Konkiru, however, felt untouchable. Money had always covered cracks. Status had always softened judgment. So when she insulted a family guest openly over a minor issue, she didn't expect her father's voice to rise sharply for the first time in years. "Konkiru," the room froze. She rolled her eyes. "What now?" That moment changed something. Her father stood up slowly, disappointment heavier than anger in his eyes. "This is not who we raised." She laughed. "You people worry too much." The laughter landed like a slap. That night, after doors were slammed and tears fell on both sides, Mr. and Mrs. Okeke sat in silence, long, painful silence, the kind that forces truth out. They had protected her too much, they had excused her too often, and now they were watching her drift towards something they could no longer control. One decision rose between them, heavy, frightening, unavoidable: change her environment. Mrs. Okeke whispered, "She will hate us." Mr. Okeke replied softly, "She may hate us, but she might survive herself." Outside, the city lights glowed comfortably. Inside, Mikiru slept peacefully, unaware that comfort was about to confront discipline. Morning came like every other morning in that house. Quiet, polished, controlled. Kiru woke up late as usual, not because she was tired, but because she could. She rolled out of bed slowly, stretched like a queen, and reached for her phone before her feet touched the floor. Downstairs, breakfast was already waiting. Mrs. Okeke sat at the dining table, stirring her tea without drinking it. Her eyes were there, but her mind was somewhere else. Mr. Okake read the newspaper, but he wasn't turning pages. Nkiru didn't notice any of it. "Mommy, what's for breakfast?" she asked, dropping into her seat like a person who owned the air. Mrs. Okake served her quietly. Nkiru tasted the eggs, frowned, then pushed the plate forward with disgust. "Is this salt or sand? You people are irritating." The maid retreated fast, head bowed. Mrs. Okake's fingers tightened around her spoon. Her throat burned, but she swallowed it like she always did. Mr. Okake didn't move. Not yet. After breakfast, Nkiru stood up and walked away without saying thank you. She was halfway up the stairs when her father's voice stopped her. "Nkiru, come back." She paused like she heard nonsense. "Daddy, I'm busy." "I said come back." That second sentence carried weight. The kind of weight that reminded people this man was not the type you ignored twice. Nkiru returned slowly, annoyed, and sat again with dramatic anger. Mr. Okake folded his newspaper carefully and placed it on the table like he was arranging evidence. "We need to talk." Nkiru scoffed. "Is it that sermon again?" Mrs. Okake spoke softly, like she was afraid her voice would break. "Nkiru, you'll be going to boarding school next term." Silence. Real silence. It was so quiet that even the air conditioner sounded loud. Nkiru stared at them like they had said a joke that didn't land. Then she laughed. Sharp, short, insulting laughter. "Ah, nice one." Nobody laughed with her. She looked from her mother to her father again. Their faces didn't shift. No smiles, no softening. Her laughter died on its own. "What do you mean, boarding school?" Mr. Okake's voice remained calm, but firm. A proper one. Her eyes widened. "Daddy, I can't go and suffer with village children." That sentence fell like a dirty cloth on the table. Mrs. Okake flinched as if she had been slapped. Mr. Okake's eyes hardened. "Watch your mouth." Nkiru stood up immediately, chair scraping the floor. "Watch my mouth." "Me? You people want to punish me because of what church people are saying, Abby?" Mrs. Okake's voice shook. "We are not punishing you. We are trying to save you." "Save me from what?" Nkiru shouted. "Comfort? Enjoyment? A good life? Don't make me laugh." Mr. Okake stood too. And suddenly, Nkiru saw a side of him she was not used to seeing. Not the respected church elder. Not the calm man who settled matters with dignity. This was the man behind the dignity. A father who was watching his child turn into something frightening. "You think money can cover bad character forever?" he said slowly. "You think respect is something you can bully people into giving you?" Nkiru laughed again, but this time the laughter was shaky. "You people are jealous of my vibe. You want to cage me." Mrs. Okake stood up and tried to touch her arm. "My daughter." Nkiru jerked away like the touch burned. "Don't touch me." Mrs. Okake's eyes filled with tears immediately. The tears didn't move Nkiru, not because she was wicked by nature, but because she had been spoiled into believing tears were manipulation, not emotion. She pointed at them, voice trembling with rage. "You people have destroyed my life. If you send me there, I will never forgive you." Mr. Okake didn't shout. That was what made it scarier. "You will go," he said. Nkiru's face twisted. "So that's it? This is not love. This is wickedness." And she stormed out. Upstairs, she slammed her door so hard the whole house shook. Shoes flew. Pillows hit the wall. Her mirror rattled. She cried loudly, not the quiet crying of regret, but the loud crying of someone who felt robbed. That night, the compound was quiet, but the house was restless. Mrs. Okake prayed with tears. Mr. Okake stared into space like a man calculating a war. Nkiru lay on her bed, eyes red, whispering threats into the darkness. "Let them try me." The next morning, she refused greetings, refused food, refused conversation, but preparation started anyway. Forms were filled, calls were made, a school was chosen, and the name of that school entered the house like a warning bell. St. Agnes Discipline College. It wasn't the kind of school you heard about and smiled. It was the kind you heard about and adjusted your behavior immediately. People said the students there didn't walk. They moved in lines. They said your phone didn't exist there. They said they woke you before your dream finished. And there was one woman everyone mentioned, almost like a legend, the house mistress, Sister Magdalene. Some called her Iron Hand. Some called her Prayer and Punishment. All Nkiru heard was challenge. One afternoon, she overheard her parents discussing it and laughed to herself. "They don't know who they're dealing with," she whispered, because in her mind she still believed one thing: her comfort was permanent. She didn't know comfort had an expiry date. The day of departure came quietly. No drama, No big announcement, just suitcases waiting by the stairs like funeral boxes. Mrs. Okeke tried to talk to her gently. "Mikiru, eat something before we go." Mikiru rolled her eyes. "So it has reached we now." Mr. Okeke said nothing. He simply picked up the keys. On the road, Mikiru sat at the back seat with her arms folded, face turned to the window like the world offended her. She didn't speak. Mrs. Okeke kept glancing back at her, heart breaking in small pieces. Mr. Okeke drove with both hands on the steering wheel like a man delivering sacrifice. When they finally arrived, Mikiru stepped out and froze. The gate was tall, cold, old, no bright colors, no smiling posters, no fancy design, just discipline standing like a soldier. Inside, girls moved in straight lines, quiet, focused, controlled. Even the air felt strict. Mikiru's throat tightened. For the first time in her life, she felt something crawl into her chest that was not pride, fear. Mrs. Okeke hugged her tightly. "Remember who you are," she whispered. Mikiru didn't hug back. Her voice was low and bitter. "You will regret this." Mr. Okeke nodded slowly, eyes heavy. "One day you'll understand." And as the car pulled away, the city girl stood alone, suitcase beside her, staring at a world that would not bend for her. Behind her, the gate closed, not like a normal gate, like a final decision. And from somewhere behind the school building, a woman approached with steady footsteps, wrapper neatly tied, head covered, face calm, eyes sharp like a blade. She stopped in front of Mikiru and looked her up and down. No smile, just one sentence. "Pick your box." Mikiru blinked. The woman added, still calm, "Here you will learn." And Mikiru felt it. This was not home. This was where pride came to die. Sister Magdalene did not shout. That was the first thing Mikiru noticed as she followed the woman across the compound, dragging her suitcase behind her. No raised voice, no insults, just quiet authority that pressed against the chest. "Carry it properly," Sister Magdalene said without turning back. Mikiru struggled with the box, her arm already aching. At home, 2 people would have lifted it before she even asked. Here, nobody looked twice. Girls passed them in neat lines, eyes straight ahead, mouths closed. Some sneaked quick glances at the new girl. Others behaved like looking around was forbidden. Mikiru hissed under her breath. "They should at least provide trolleys." Sister Magdalene stopped. She turned slowly and looked at Mikiru. Not angry, not rushed, just observing, like someone measuring weight. "What did you say?" Mikiru swallowed. "Nothing. Because this is not a hotel." The words were soft. The effect was heavy. They entered the dormitory, clean, silent, perfectly arranged. Beds stood in straight rows, trunks aligned at the foot of each bed, shoes paired neatly underneath, not a single cloth out of place. Mikiru frowned deeply. Sister Magdalene pointed to the first bed by the door. "That is yours." Mikiru scoffed. "Why here?" "So you can wake up quickly," the woman replied. Mikiru opened her mouth to argue, but something in Sister Magdalene's eyes shut it again. This was not someone you argued with. This was someone you survived. "Change into your housewear. Assembly in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Mikiru panicked. At home, time bent for her. Here, time stood like a judge. She threw open her box, pulling clothes out carelessly. Other girls watched quietly. One slim girl leaned over and whispered, "Better hurry. She doesn't repeat herself." Mikiru rolled her eyes. "She's not my mother." The girl smiled slightly. "She's worse." Assembly was torture. Standing still, back straight, no talking, no shifting. Mikiru's legs burned. Her pride burned more. Sister Magdalene walked past rows of students. Nobody breathed wrong. That night, Mikiru expected rest. Instead, a bell rang. Prep time. Her heart sank. She dragged herself to the study hall. Silence swallowed her whole. Pens moved, pages turned. No whispers, no phones, no excuses. Mikiru stared at her book. At home, she barely studied. Teachers adjusted, marks were fixed. Here, nobody cared who her father was. Days passed. The real shock came with duties. "Sweep the dormitory," a prefect said casually. Mikiru laughed. "You're joking." The prefect didn't smile. "I'm not." Mikiru refused. That was her first offense. Sister Magdalene called her aside. "Why didn't you sweep?" Mikiru folded her arms. "I don't do that." Sister Magdalene nodded. "You will." Punishment followed. Extra chores. No argument. No discussion. That night, Mikiru cried quietly into her pillow, careful not to be heard. She missed her bed. She missed shouting. She missed being feared. She tried her old tricks, talking back, eye-rolling, complaining loudly. Each time, punishment. Each time, silence. One afternoon, she insulted a junior over a bucket. The girl cried. Sister Magdalene appeared like she had been watching all along. Apologize. Nkiru shook her head. I won't. That refusal earned her the harshest punishment yet. Kneeling under the sun, sweeping the compound later, missing lunch. Students whispered, some laughed, some pitied her. During punishment, Nkiru noticed something strange. Sister Magdalene watched from a distance, not with anger, but with something else. Concern. Weeks passed. Slowly, painfully, something began to crack. Nkiru learned how to make her bed. She learned how to wash clothes properly. She learned how to wake up before the bell. One evening, after finishing her duties without complaint, Sister Magdalene called her. You are improving. The words froze her. No praise, just acknowledgement. Thank you, Ma, Nkiru whispered. That night, lying on her bed, Nkiru stared at the ceiling and felt something unfamiliar. Not anger, not pride, awareness. She realized slowly that she had been wrong. But growth wasn't instant. Some days she slipped, some days she argued. Each time, discipline followed. Each time she learned. One rainy evening, Nkiru fell sick. Fever, weakness. Sister Magdalene personally brought her food. Eat, she said softly. Nkiru looked at her, confused. You care. Sister Magdalene smiled faintly. Discipline without care is cruelty. Tears filled Nkiru's eyes. She turned away quickly. From that day, her heart softened. She began greeting people, helping others, listening. Laughter returned, gentle, real. The proud city girl was learning patience. She didn't know it yet, but her real test was still coming. And this time, it wouldn't be about punishment. It would be about choice. By second term, something in Nkiru had shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. The bell rang at 5 in the morning, and instead of groaning or hiding under her blanket, she sat up almost immediately. Her body still protested, but her mind no longer fought the routine. She reached for her bucket. Around her, the dormitory stirred in calm rhythm. Beds were made quickly. Buckets moved. No shouting, no insults. As Nkiru swept the floor that morning, she caught her reflection in the window glass. Her face looked slimmer, her eyes clearer. She paused. So this is me now, she whispered. She almost smiled. Nkiru was still Nkiru. She still liked nice things. She still enjoyed attention, but the hunger behind it had changed. She said please, she said sorry, and the word no longer choked her throat. Juniors no longer avoided her. Some even greeted her cheerfully. Good morning, senior, she replied. Good morning, have you finished prep? The warmth that spread through her chest felt better than power ever did. Sister Magdalene noticed. She always noticed. She saw how Nkiru volunteered without being told, how she corrected others gently instead of harshly, how she stayed behind after duties to help slower students. During inspection one afternoon, Sister Magdalene stopped at Nkiru's locker. She opened it slowly. Everything was neat, clothes folded properly, shoes aligned, books arranged. She closed the locker and looked at Nkiru. Well done. The words were simple, but they landed deep. Thank you, Ma, Nkiru said softly, her throat tight. That night, she lay awake thinking. For the first time in her life, she felt proud without noise. Then came inter-house chores week. It was chaos. Every house was assigned large sections of the school to clean. Tempers rose, arguments broke out, students snapped at each other, and Nkiru was appointed group leader. The old Nkiru would have enjoyed it. She would have shouted, insulted, controlled. This time she hesitated. Let's finish together, she said calmly, so we can rest early. Girls exchanged surprised looks. Work began slowly. A junior spilled water by mistake. Another girl shouted at her. Nkiru stepped in. It's okay. Let's clean it and move on. Something shifted. The group worked harder. Laughter followed. Jokes slipped out. They finished early. Sister Magdalene inspected and nodded. You handled them well. Nkiru smiled shyly, but not everyone was happy. A senior named Amaka watched quietly. Amaka had once enjoyed being feared. Now Nkiru's quiet respect was drawing attention. One afternoon, Amaka cornered Nkiru behind the dormitory. You think you're special now? She sneered. Nkiru took a deep breath. I'm just trying to do better. Amaka laughed. You think acting humble will save you? Nkiru said nothing and walked away. The rumor started. Mockery. Whispers, lies. One day Amaka poured water on Nikiru's bed. The old Nikiru would have fought. This time she stood still, hands shaking. Both girls were called. Amaka expected fire. Instead, Nikiru said quietly, "I forgive her." Silence filled the room. Sister Magdalene looked at Amaka. Anger hides pain. Amaka broke down crying. The truth came out. Pressure, jealousy, fear. That day, Nikiru learned something powerful. Kindness disarms what force cannot. Academically, Nikiru improved, not because she became brilliant overnight, but because she became consistent. She studied when tired, asked questions, tried again after failing. On prize-giving day, her name was called, not for neatness but for academic improvement and leadership. As she collected the award, her eyes found Sister Magdalene. The woman nodded once. That nod meant everything. Holiday came. Nikiru stood at the gate, bag packed neatly, heart pounding. Would her parents recognize this version of her? Mrs. Okeke stepped out of the car and froze. "Is that my daughter?" Nikiru smiled and walked toward her. "Good afternoon, Mommy." Mrs. Okeke hugged her tightly, tears flowing freely. Mr. Okeke watched quietly, eyes wet. On the drive home, Nikiru talked about school, about duties, about Sister Magdalene. "She's strict," she said, smiling, "but she cares." That night, Nikiru helped clear the table without being asked. Her parents looked at each other. The pain had been worth it, but this wasn't the end. It was preparation. Time has a way of testing whether change is real or just performance. For Nikiru, the real test didn't come with applause or rewards. It came quietly through ordinary days, through moments when no one was watching, through choices made when it would have been easier to return to who she used to be. After the holiday break, she returned to St. Agnes without dragging her feet. At the gate, she greeted the security man. She greeted the matron. When she saw Sister Magdalene near the dormitory, she stopped and bowed slightly. "Good evening, Ma." Sister Magdalene studied her face the way she always did. "Welcome," she replied. Just one word, but Nikiru felt proud, not the loud pride that demanded attention, but a calm confidence that settled gently in her chest. Back in the dormitory, girls gathered around her. "City girl is back," someone joked. Nikiru laughed. "I hear village girls missed me." Everyone laughed. The laughter was warm, no fear in it. As the term went on, Nikiru became someone others leaned on. Juniors came for advice. Seniors trusted her with responsibility. When conflicts arose, her name was mentioned. One evening, a junior named Ifunonya sat on Nikiru's bed, crying quietly. "What happened?" Nikiru asked gently. "I'm stupid," the girl whispered. "I'll never pass." The words struck Nikiru hard. She remembered being careless, being arrogant, believing effort was beneath her. She placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. "Listen to me," she said softly. "Grades don't define you. Effort does. And you're not stupid." The girl sniffed and nodded. Those words sounded familiar, almost like something Sister Magdalene would say. Nikiru smiled to herself. Academically, she surprised everyone, including herself. Not because she became the smartest, but because she became disciplined. She read even when tired, asked for help, stopped pretending to know everything. On prize-giving day, her name was called again, this time for overall improvement and leadership. As she stood at the front, collecting the award, her eyes searched the crowd and landed on Sister Magdalene. The woman nodded. Again, after the ceremony, she called Nikiru aside. "You see," she said calmly, "hard work speaks." "Thank you, Ma," Nikiru replied. "No," Sister Magdalene said, "thank yourself." That night, Nikiru wrote a letter to her parents. Not a text, a real letter. She apologized for her past behavior, thanked them for not giving up on her. Mrs. Okeke cried openly while reading it. Mr. Okeke read it twice, folded it carefully, and kept it in his drawer. Years passed. Nikiru grew taller, calmer, wiser. By her final year, she wasn't just a student, she was a role model. New students whispered stories about her. They say she was once very proud. Hard to believe. She's so kind. She didn't deny her past. She used it. During a character talk, Sister Magdalene called her to the front. "Tell them your story." Nikiru hesitated, then spoke. "I used to think respect was something people owed me," she said. "I was wrong. Character matters more than comfort, and change is painful, but possible." The hall was silent. Graduation came. Nikiru returned home for good. The house looked the same. The gate still opened wide, but she walked in differently. She greeted the maids, helped in the kitchen, spoke gently. At first, people thought it was an act, but she didn't stop. One evening, a maid broke a plate and froze in fear. Nikuru picked up the pieces calmly. "It's okay," she said. "Are you hurt?" The maid stared in disbelief. In church, people noticed too. "That girl has changed," they whispered. Nikuru didn't let praise enter her head. She remembered who she used to be. Years later, she returned to St. Agnes, not as a student, but as a guest speaker. She stood at the gate and smiled. Fear, tears, growth. Sister Magdalene walked toward her, slower now, but still firm. "You came back," she said. "I had to," Nikuru replied. "You changed my life." Sister Magdalene shook her head gently. "No, you chose to change." That evening, Nikuru addressed the students. "Discipline is not punishment," she said. "It is direction." The hall erupted in applause. As she walked away, Nikuru felt peace. Not the pride she once loved, but something deeper. From a spoiled child to a disciplined woman, from noise to purpose, from shame to growth. Her story spread, not because it was dramatic, but because it was real. And somewhere in the crowd, a stubborn child listened and thought, maybe I can change too. Because the truth is simple, no one is beyond growth, no one is too spoiled to learn, and sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that save us. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and share to others